The resume on my screen had my sister's name at the top and my entire life underneath it. Every bullet point, every number, every single accomplishment I bled for between the ages of 22 and 29, sitting there under the name Dallas Kern like she'd earned a single hour of it. My hand was still wrapped around a coffee cup that had gone cold 20 minutes ago. I hadn't noticed. I was too busy reading the sentence that made my stomach drop through the floor of a building I'd spent 6 years climbing. Operations Lead, Ashby Stoneworks, 2016 to 2019. That was my job. My desk. My unpaid, uncredited 7-days-a-week job. And in 4 days, my sister was going to sit across a conference table from me, thinking she was interviewing for a position. She had no idea she was walking into the one room in the world where the truth finally had somewhere to land. If you've ever been the one who held a family together while everyone else got to have a life, if you know what it feels like to be indispensable and invisible in the same breath, stay with me. This one's going to sit with you. I'm going to tell you exactly how I got from that back door to that conference table. Comment where you're watching from, and if by the end of this you're firmly on my side, tell me. I read every one. This is Venge Legacy, and this is the story of the year my family found out that quiet people remember everything. My name is Ren Ashby. I'm 33 now, but this story starts when I was 22 in a town called Millbrook, Indiana, where everybody knew my father's trucks before they knew his face. Marcus Ashby ran Ashby Stoneworks. Patios, retaining walls, the occasional fireplace renovation for the nicer side of town. 9 guys on payroll, a shop that smelled like wet limestone and diesel, and a reputation for finishing jobs on time. He built that reputation on other people's backs. Mostly mine, though it took me years to say that sentence out loud without flinching. My mother, Corinne, ran the house the way my father ran the shop. Everything had a place, and I was the place things got put when nobody else wanted them. My younger sister, Dallas, was 2 years behind me and light years ahead in everything that mattered to my parents. She was easy to love in the effortless way. Freckles, a laugh you could hear through a wall, the kind of charm that made teachers forgive late homework. She got pregnant at 20, and somehow that made her more precious to my parents instead of less. My niece, Piper, was born that spring, and by the time she was 6 months old, I was the one who knew her feeding schedule better than her own mother did. It didn't happen all at once. It never does. That's the part people don't understand until they've lived it. It started with, "Ren, can you grab her for an hour? I've got a hair appointment." Then it was, "Ren, can you take the morning? I'm exhausted." Then Dallas started something called a lifestyle page online, breastfeeding tips and boutique baby clothes and captions about the beautiful chaos of motherhood. And somewhere in there the hour became a Tuesday, and the Tuesday became most of the week. I was 22, working the front office at my father's company for what he called keeping it in the family, which was another way of saying nothing. I answered every phone call. I scheduled every crew. I chased down every invoice that a client conveniently forgot to pay. When our office manager, a woman named Sheila, quit in the fall of 2016, my father didn't hire anyone to replace her. He just looked at me and said, "You've basically been doing her job anyway." I had. For free. I asked him once, standing in the shop with grease on the concrete and a stack of unpaid invoices in my hand, if I could go on payroll. Just officially. A title, a number, anything. He didn't even look up from the mower he was fixing. Family doesn't pay family, Ren. This is how you contribute. Contribute. Like I was donating spare change instead of 40 hours a week at the office and another 30 watching my niece so my sister could photograph avocado toast for an audience of 19 people, 12 of whom were relatives. I did the math one night at 2 in the morning, the way you do when you can't sleep and your brain won't stop keeping score. 70 hours a week, unpaid for 3 years. At minimum wage alone, that was over $100,000 I had handed my family with both hands and never seen a dime of. But it was never really about the money. It was about the fact that my 20s were being spent in someone else's waiting room. By 2019 I was 25, and something in me had started to crack open in a way I didn't fully understand yet. I'd been taking free courses online at night, after Piper was asleep on my chest and before I collapsed onto the pile of laundry that used to be my bed. Project management. Basic bookkeeping. I built a resume that tried, with a straight face, to make unpaid family labor sound like operations experience. I applied to 50-some jobs over 4 months. One company called back. A logistics and consulting firm in Fort Wayne called Calder and Vance. executive coordinator to the regional director. The salary alone made my hands shake when I read the email. Benefits. A real office. A door with a lock that wasn't attached to my parents' house. They wanted an in-person interview. March 11th, 2 o'clock in Fort Wayne, an hour and a half away by bus. I told my parents I had a doctor's appointment. I borrowed a blazer from a friend. I practiced my answers in the bathroom mirror with the fan running so no one would hear me. The morning of the interview, I came down the stairs at 10:40 wearing the only blazer I owned that wasn't mine, my resume folder pressed against my chest like it might blow away. My mother was standing in front of the front door, arms crossed. That particular stillness she got when a decision had already been made without me. "Where are you going?" "I told you. Doctor's appointment." "She has a job interview," my sister said, walking in through the side door with Piper on her hip and a canvas bag the size of a small suitcase in her other hand. "I've got to shoot for a sponsor today. It's a big deal, Ren. I need you to take Piper." My chest went tight in that old, familiar way. "I can't today. I have." "You have duties," my father said, coming in from the kitchen with his coffee mug, not even bothering to look angry. "Just amused the way you'd be amused at a dog that thought it could talk. That's what you have, Ren." I looked at the clock. 80 minutes until my bus. Dallas set Piper down and dropped the diaper bag at my feet. It landed with a heavy, deliberate thud. "She needs lunch by noon. Don't let her nap past 2 or she's a nightmare all night. I'll be back by 4. Probably." I looked down at that bag. I looked at my mother, planted in front of the only easy way out. I looked at my father, sipping his coffee like this was any other Tuesday. I looked at Piper, 2 years old, reaching her arms up toward me because she trusted me more than anyone else in that house, and some old, tired part of me almost broke. And then I did something I had never done in my entire life. I stepped over the bag. My mother's voice cracked behind me. "Ren Elizabeth, if you walk out that door." I walked out the back door instead. The one that led to the driveway, not the one she was blocking. It was cold, gray, the kind of March morning that smells like rain that hasn't decided to fall yet. I walked a mile and changed to the bus stop in shoes that weren't made for walking, and I didn't look back once. I made the 2 o'clock interview with 7 minutes to spare, sweating through a borrowed blazer, hair falling out of its bun, and somehow I answered every single question like my life depended on it. Because it did. The woman who interviewed me, a sharp, kind-eyed director named Renata Ochoa, told me on my way out, "We'll be in touch within the week. You're a strong candidate." I floated home. For one single evening, I let myself believe I'd done it. I packed a bag that night while my parents watched TV downstairs like nothing had happened. 5 days of clothes, my laptop, $140 in cash I'd saved from birthdays over 3 years. My mother appeared in my doorway while I zipped it shut. "You embarrassed this family today. I'm leaving. You'll be back." I looked at her for a long moment. "No, I won't." I left the next morning before sunrise, key on the counter, and took a bus to Fort Wayne, where an old college friend named Priya let me sleep on her couch and asked exactly one question. "Are you okay?" I told her I would be. She didn't push. The rejection email came 8 days later. Generic. Professional. No explanation. I read it maybe 20 times looking for something I could fix. I never found it because there was nothing to find. Not then. What I didn't know, what I would not find out for nearly a decade, was that the day after my interview, someone in Millbrook had sent an anonymous email to Calder and Vance's HR department, warning them off hiring me, calling me unstable, unreliable, a risk. I just thought I'd failed. I spent years believing that. I want to pause here because I know some of you are sitting with this feeling right now, the one where you gave everything to people who called it your duty instead of your sacrifice. If that's you, I see you. Keep listening because this story does not end where you think it does. I worked retail in Fort Wayne that spring. $11 an hour folding shirts, learning the particular exhaustion of standing on concrete floors for 8 hours straight. I moved into a studio apartment with no air conditioning and neighbors who fought at 2 a.m. It was mine though. Nobody could drop a diaper bag on that floor and expect me to catch it. I sent Piper a birthday card every April. No return address beyond a P.O. box. I never got a reply. I kept sending them anyway because some part of me refused to let her grow up thinking I'd vanished on purpose. Then the pandemic hit and the retail job disappeared with it. I spent 6 months surviving on savings and unemployment, applying to anything that would have me. In the summer of 2020 at 11 at night, scrolling job boards because I couldn't sleep, I saw it. Calder & Vance was hiring again. HR coordinator. The same company that had quietly rejected me a year earlier. I almost scrolled past it. Then I stopped and I applied anyway, updating my resume with everything I'd learned since, and using Priya's new Fort Wayne address because mine still felt cursed. I got the job. $42,000 a year, benefits, a badge with my name on it. I sat on my apartment floor and cried when the offer came through, and I didn't call my family. I called Priya instead. I told myself, this time I make it stick. I did. I want to skip through this part quickly, not because it wasn't hard, but because you already know what determination looks like when nobody's handing you anything. I got certified in HR compliance on the company's dime. I got noticed by a woman named Renata, the same director who'd interviewed me in 2019 without knowing it, who became something like a mentor without ever making it feel like charity. Coordinator became specialist. Specialist became senior specialist. By 2024 I was HR director with an office on the 4th floor and a window that looked out over a city I'd built a whole new life inside of. I paid off my car. I started therapy and learned that "I don't owe them an explanation" was a full sentence, not a cop-out. I deleted every family contact from my phone one Thanksgiving, alone in my apartment with boxed stuffing and a rotisserie chicken, and I told the empty room out loud that I was thankful for the back door. I thought that was the end of the story. I was 31, financially stable for the first time in my life and at peace. I had no idea the story wasn't finished with me yet. 2 years later, on a gray Tuesday morning in April, I was going through applications for an open operations coordinator role. 80-some resumes in the queue. I was moving through them fast, the way you do after years of practice, and then a name stopped my scroll cold. Dallas Kern. My sister had gotten married. My coffee cup hovered halfway to my mouth. It could have been a coincidence. Calder & Vance was a decent-sized firm, and my sister had no way of knowing where I worked. She'd never once looked. Then I opened the file and coincidence stopped being a comfortable word. Under work history, in a clean, professional template, it said, Operations Lead, Ashby Stoneworks, 2016 to 2019. Managed scheduling for a 9-person field crew across a 5-county service area. Reduced invoice processing errors by 31%. Maintained a 97% client satisfaction rating. I sat very still. That 97% number wasn't an estimate. I had calculated it myself in the fall of 2018 from a stack of comment cards I used to file by hand. Every bullet point on that page was a sentence from my own life, wearing my sister's name like a coat that had never belonged to her. I scrolled to references. 3 names. The first one stopped my breath entirely. Marcus Ashby, owner, Ashby Stoneworks, former supervisor. My father. Listed as her supervisor for a job that had, in fact, been mine. Standard hiring protocol at Calder & Vance meant verifying every listed employer before an interview offer went out. I had 2 choices in front of me. I could recuse myself, hand the file to another director, and let it disappear from my life the way I'd taught myself to let things disappear. Or I could do my job exactly the way I would for any other candidate, and let the process reveal whatever it was going to reveal. I chose the second one. Not for revenge. At least that's what I told myself at 11 a.m. that Tuesday. I pulled the archive on my own file from 2019 while I was in the system anyway, mostly out of muscle memory. There was, buried in old notes, a flagged entry, dated the day after my rejected interview. Asterisk, received concerning information regarding candidate stability from outside party. Recommend do not proceed. Asterisk, an attachment, a screenshot of an email from an account calling itself a concerned neighbor, claiming I'd abandoned a toddler, that I had a history of instability, that my own family was worried sick. I checked the metadata out of professional habit more than hope. The IP address traced to a residential address in Millbrook. My childhood home. 7 years. 7 years I had carried the quiet, private belief that I simply hadn't been good enough that day. That the rejection had been fair. And the entire time, it had been sabotage, sent from my mother's own kitchen the morning after I walked out her back door. I sat with that for a long time. Longer than I want to admit on camera. Then I picked up the phone and called Ashby Stoneworks to verify employment, the same as I would for anyone. My father answered on the 3rd ring. Ashby Stoneworks, Marcus speaking. I kept my voice level, professional, a stranger's voice. Hello, this is Ren Ashby, HR Director at Calder & Vance. I'm calling to verify employment history for a candidate, Dallas Kern. A long pause. Ren. This is standard verification, sir. Can you confirm Dallas Kern was employed as operations lead from 2016 to 2019? Another pause, shorter this time, and then his voice settled into something practiced. Yes, that's correct. She ran the office. Very reliable. During that time, did anyone else perform those same duties? No. Just Dallas. I thanked him and hung up before my hands could start shaking, because I needed them steady for what came next. I scheduled the interview myself. April 14th, 10 in the morning, in a conference room with glass walls that faced the elevator bank. I told the CEO and my VP of operations only that there was a potential conflict of interest, and that I wanted to lead the interview personally. They trusted me enough not to ask why. At 9:58, I watched my sister walk into our lobby. Older than the last time I'd seen her, a folder clutched against her chest, that same nervous, practiced smile she used to wear right before asking me for a favor she'd already decided I'd say yes to. I walked out to greet her myself. Dallas. I'm Ren Ashby, HR Director. Welcome to Calder & Vance. The color left her face in one long drop. Ren, I didn't know you worked here. 10 years is a long time, I said. Things change. Follow me. The first 20 minutes were routine. My colleagues asked about scheduling software, client communication, conflict resolution. Dallas answered carefully, the way you do when you've rehearsed a story so many times it almost sounds like memory. Then my VP asked about the Ashby Stoneworks role, and I watched my sister describe my own job back to me across a conference table, using words I recognized because I had written them myself years earlier into an actual internal report nobody had ever properly credited to me. At 10:30, my colleagues excused themselves for what they thought was a scheduled break. It wasn't scheduled. I'd asked them to leave 20 minutes in. The door closed. It was just the two of us. Let's talk about your resume, I said, sliding the printed copy across the table and turning it so the Ashby Stoneworks section faced her. Operations lead 2016 to 2019. Full-time. Yes. I called Dad. He confirmed it. Said you were very reliable. I let that sit in the air for a second. Did you ask him to say that? Her jaw tightened. I did work there. I helped out. Helping out and being the operations lead for 3 years, unpaid 40 hours a week, are two very different resumes, Dallas. And I know because I wrote that job description. I lived it. Every bullet point on this page happened to me. Her face went through about 4 different colors in the space of 10 seconds. I needed something that looked real, Ren. I have 3 kids now. Danny left. I didn't know what else to put down. I slid a second page across the table. The 2019 email. The one that had cost me my first shot at the life I'd eventually had to build twice. Do you know what this is? She read it. Her hands had started to shake. I don't know anything about this. It was sent the morning after my interview from our house, saying I'd abandoned a toddler and couldn't be trusted with a job. It's the reason I got rejected the first time. Mom sent it, Dallas. You were there that morning. You watched her block the door. You dropped that bag at my feet and left. That's when she started crying, and it wasn't the composed kind. It was raw and messy, and for the first time in the conversation I believed every bit of it was real. I was 22, Ren. I had a baby and I was overwhelmed, and you had opportunities and I didn't. I had duties, I said quietly. You had opportunities. That's what everyone kept telling me, remember? She kept talking faster now, unraveling. You don't know what it's been like since you left. Everything fell apart. I needed help. I hadn't told her about the small red light on the conference phone. A client call had been scheduled to test the line at 10:15, and the system had connected it early. 12 people were listening on the other end, including my old interviewer, Renata, and our general counsel. They heard every word. I could have muted it the second I noticed. I thought about it for exactly as long as it takes to breathe in and out once. I let it run. Not out of cruelty. Because for the first time in 10 years, the truth had an audience, and I was done being the only person who knew what had actually happened in that house. When my VP called the room and told me security was on their way to escort Dallas out for application fraud, I didn't argue and I didn't gloat. I just stood, walked her to the door myself, and said the only thing I had left. I'm sorry it came to this. I really am. But I can't hire someone who lied to get here, and I definitely can't pretend I don't know why. The days after were loud in a way I hadn't braced for. Calls from my father, furious, calling me selfish, calling what I'd done unconscionable. An email from my mother asking how I could do this to my own sister, telling me the children were asking why Aunt Ren hated them. I hired a lawyer instead of answering. A formal letter, no contact, all communication through counsel if anything further came up. 3 weeks of silence followed, and honestly the silence didn't feel like victory. It felt like grief, the specific kind that shows up after you finally stop waiting for people to become who you needed them to be. Then about a month later, a message came through on my professional page from an account I didn't recognize. It was Piper, 14 now. She told me she'd kept every single birthday card I'd ever sent, hidden in a shoebox under her bed after her mother threw the first few away. She said she didn't remember me very well, but she missed me anyway, and she thought it was pretty cool that I worked somewhere with my name on an office door. I read that message 4 or 5 times before I could see the screen clearly again. I wrote back carefully. I told her I thought about her every year on her birthday, that I wasn't ready to be part of the rest of the family right now, but that she could message me anytime about anything and I'd always answer. She still does sometimes. Just small things. A good grade. A bad week. It's not everything I wanted from that family. But it's something real, and I've learned that real is worth more than a lot of the things I used to think I was owed. A few months after the interview, my old boss Renata sent me an email out of nowhere. She'd been cleaning out old files and found the offer letter she'd drafted for me back in 2019, before it got quietly shelved. $61,000 a year, a start date, my name typed at the top. She'd never sent it. She said she wanted me to have it anyway, 7 years too late, so I'd know I had actually earned that seat before anyone told me otherwise. I framed it. It hangs next to my current title on the wall of an office that nobody gave me. I built every inch of it myself the second time when nobody was holding the door. I'm a vice president now. I mentor a handful of young hires who remind me a little too much of who I used to be. The ones who think being needed is the same thing as being loved. It isn't. I wish someone had told me that at 22. If this story hit close to home, if you've ever walked out a door that everyone told you not to touch, tell me about it in the comments. I read every single one, and some of you have stories that deserve their own episode. Like this video if you were rooting for Ren. Subscribe to Venge Legacy if you want more stories about the quiet people who finally stop being quiet. And if you know someone who's still standing at their own back door trying to decide, send them this one. Sometimes the door everyone expects you to use isn't the one that saves you. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.